Welcome to Public Safety Talk Radio, the podcast for all of our heroes of public safety, including law enforcement professionals, firefighters, EMTs, corrections officers, healthcare workers, and more. The show is produced by the POCUA and is founded upon its Soundness Initiative. This episode is sponsored by the Finest Service Organization, a provider of line of duty death loan protection through many of our POCUA institutions. I'm your host for Public Safety Talk Radio, Ken Bader, and before we get to what I felt was a really fun and enjoyable conversation that I had with Sarah Hall from Talus Ridge, I want to let you know that they were nice enough to invite me to their booth during the SHOT Show on January 19th, 2022. So I am going to be there with my new friends from Talus Ridge, interviewing people for Public Safety Talk Radio. We're going to have a lot of fun. I will give you more details on that soon, but just want to give out a huge thank you to Sarah Hall and Talus Ridge for inviting me, and I'm really looking forward to being at the SHOT Show and being there with the folks of Talus Ridge. So make sure, even if you just want to come and say hi and not necessarily be on Public Safety Talk Radio, you need to check out Talus Ridge, and I'll be happy to say hello to you and have a brief conversation on or off camera. Now let's get to a great conversation with Sarah Hall at Talus Ridge. And I have another awesome guest. Got a chance to meet her and talk to her a little bit before I pressed that infamous record button. And we were already having fun. So I hope that fun transfers over into the actual recording, which I know it will. We have Sarah Hall, who is not only a former dispatcher, but she's an entrepreneur. She's the founder and chief executive officer of Talus Ridge, and we're going to dig into that. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ken, for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
I know you are, and we love having you here. You got that Southern North Carolina drawl going, and already that Southern hospitality, so welcome.
Thank you. Yep, right here from I'm from Autryville, which is in between Clinton and Fayetteville. It has one sign. It says welcome on one side and welcome on the other. So little map dot.
Got it. Do you even have like a street light or a signal?
They actually do now have a flashing light.
Oh, cool. Cool. Well, one of these days I'll have to come and visit. I love North Carolina, but I'm a little bit more particular on the Atlantic Ocean coast side. But
hey, that's perfectly fine.
Got it. Maybe we'll have a coffee over there someday. But first and foremost, I want to dig into the business. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about your career as a dispatcher. I know you spent over 3 years doing that, serving our first responders. So let's dig into that a little bit. Tell us about that role.
Absolutely. So I was a dispatcher here in North Carolina for a very elite agency, and we worked with a lot of law enforcement members, and that's really where this whole Talus Ridge and Thin Gold line was born out of, was my inquisitiveness. For the 15 years before I did dispatching, I was an insurance agent. So loss mitigation was very important to me. And so when I would see law enforcement members come through and they wouldn't have on their ballistic gear, it concerned me, obviously. And I would ask one question over and over, and that was, why aren't you wearing your gear? And that the answers I got led to Talus Ridge. So
interesting. Well, what that is, I love law enforcement and I love entrepreneurship just as much. So let's dig into that, because at the end of the day, all entrepreneurship is solving somebody's problem. So tell us about the answers you got. You obviously are solving a problem here with Talus Ridge.
Right, exactly. So the problems, the answers that I got were really consistent. I have yeast infections, which I was really surprised any man would like admit to that. Open sores from where the plates would rub on the body. Another really common one was heat rash under the body, and sweat that would just get absorbed into the vest, which actually like decreases the length of the vest viability. And the thing just stinks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like riding in a football mom van on the way home after a football game for 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
It's really
After
bad.
taking them to the Dairy Queen.
Yeah, I mean, it was really wild. I'd hear stories of people hanging their vest in their bathroom on a hanger and it just dripping sweat, even in December here in North Carolina,
Yeah.
just so the next day they could put it on again. And I'm like, there has got to be a solution. And there really was nothing on the market that addressed it the way that I addressed it, or that we're addressing it now. So
Yeah.
we have created what we call the Talus airflow system. Another name you'll see it as is 1041 Life, obviously for the log on signal for law enforcement members. The system itself is comprised of three main components: a compression shirt with a stay in place on the bottom, so the shirt never moves once you put it in place. There's a Velcro system because the spacers or shock absorbers are actually adaptable. So when you put on your vest, it actually rides where it would normally rub. You can put one of the shock absorbers there to alleviate the compression on the garment. So it's totally adaptable to the wearer. And we have already had it tested at one of our facilities by a ballistic maker to make sure that it did not decrease the effectiveness.
Right.
Because that was the last thing I wanted to do, was create a product that was going to.
Yeah. I feel great, but now I've been shot.
Yeah.
Now I'm bleeding all over it.
Right. Well, the cool thing was it actually made the ballistic gear more effective.
Yeah.
So it allowed for more compression of the armor, the 2A and 3A ballistic gear. So we are stoked with that response. And we've got testers that are wearing it now and they love it. They're more comfortable. It's a breathable mesh garment, and it's a wonderful addition, and we're very excited to bring it to the market.
Yeah, this is a breath of fresh air. Some people may not agree with me. I don't care. It's my show. I'm gonna put it on the recording. I believe that most, if not all, of the problems in the country, can be solved by entrepreneurs and sharp business thinking. Every time I see, politicians or even union folks try to get in to solve a problem, nothing ever gets done. Just look at the Port of Long Beach outside of my house and, the 75 ships that are out there.
Exactly.
But I digress. It does my heart good to hear that all of the entrepreneurs that are solving a problem, especially in public safety. I was actually just watching, I want to say a couple weeks ago, I'm a big football fan. I was watching an NFL game, and the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, Tua, yada, 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 yada. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, was coming back from broken ribs, and they were showing this thing that they made for him, which was this lightweight carbon fiber type of protective piece that he wore underneath his uniform, and it would allow him to move and protect him too. And I sat there, and the first thing that I said in a much harsher way that I'll say on my show is, why can't they do that for first responders? Because
and that's the problem I'm solving.
Yeah, because nobody pays to see them put out fires or catch bad guys. Is that why?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. And we're not trying to break the bank. We know if you've got to buy it for yourself, we want to make sure that the individual can obviously purchase it. But we're absolutely ready to talk to agencies to get this in hand first quarter of next year. We're in production. Like you said, there are delays across the world trying to get materials here, there, and everywhere. But we're powering through those. But we are ready to talk to agencies who are ready to have this ready for their folks Q1, Q2 next year.
Yeah, well, if you ordered materials, odds are it's probably 10 miles away from me. I could take a swim and maybe I can get it for you. Anyhow, if I can actually swim, I think it'd be better to grab a boat. But tell me, Coming this March 27th through the 29th, 2022 in Savannah, Georgia, is the first Public Safety Business Summit, a program specifically created for organizations that serve first responders. What you will experience is a high level of networking and collaboration among like-minded leaders who are in the business of serving first responders. What you won't get are a series of boring lectures with no interactivity, ridiculous golf outings that are only appealing to a few attendees, or a couple of retreaded subjects that you can hear at any credit union league event that are just thrown into the curriculum. We offer an engaging agenda where attendees even help to determine the content during the actual conference based on their unique needs. If you run a business, a credit union, or a nonprofit that specifically serves first responders, then the Public Safety Business Summit is for you. For more information, go to www.policecreditunions.com or call 331-300-9889. We hope to see you in Savannah on March 27th, 28th, and 29th of 2022. Tell me about, if I remember reading it correctly, I think the company that you founded was originally Thin Gold Line Solutions, and then it rebranded to Talus Ridge. Tell us a little bit
Yes.
more about that progression.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a dispatcher, we are known as a Thin Gold Line, and I'm still happy to say we, even though I hung up my headset, I still consider myself part of that family.
As you should.
Yeah, so that's still our corporate name. Our corporate name is still Thin Gold Line Solutions. But when we realized how broad the product could be, we didn't want to limit it or somebody to say, oh, well, you only work with law enforcement, so we don't want your product. And it's a problem that is everywhere. And as much as I wanted to say, yep, I'm going to have my name be Thin Gold Line forever, as a business owner and a businesswoman, the right decision was to rebrand with something that is very broad and could still do all the things that I wanted it to do. So my team and I came up with Talus Ridge. Talus is three things to me. It's a rock. I have an obsession with rocks. It's a pile of rocks at the bottom of a hiking trail. Star Wars, and it's a planet on Star Wars, and then it's a bone in the foot. There's a talus bone in your foot. So anyhow, they all kind of came together. I walk a lot. So those are three things that are important to me. And I wanted it to sound like a location. And we'll get to that in a minute. But Talus Ridge, and then my chief visionary officer, her name is Sue, and she came up with our tagline, where comfort meets courage. She's not here today. She's not here. I got a couple other folks here, but where comfort meets courage. And that's really important because you're out there being courageous on the line every day. And the least I could do was to try and bring some comfort to your world. So that's where we got our tagline and our name. And it's really opened up a lot of doors for us. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, in doing some pre-work before we got on this interview, I dug into Talus Ridge and I noticed the where comfort meets courage. And yeah, if I wasn't impressed, frankly, I would tell you because you're 3,000 miles away. But I've got to be honest and say I was impressed with that. As a branding expert myself, taglines are just words on paper. But when it's a brand principle, which I believe these four words are, it permeates through the whole operation, the culture,
right.
The product, the way that we deal with our customers. And I couldn't have put together where comfort meets courage any better than that. I think that if anything told me everything I needed to know about your company from a branding standpoint, those four words did. So tell Sue she did a good job. Why don't you give Sue a raise just for those four words?
Hey, you help me get to revenue and we'll do that.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
But getting to that, I think it speaks to the passion that you have, and not just you, but obviously Sue and the other folks that you have on your team, that it's not just another product. It's truly is a passion. Yeah.
It's a culture.
Yeah.
It is not just a passion. This company is created to give back. From the very beginning, our focus has been that whatever amount of money that we make from this, will my employees live well? Yes. We will make sure that my employees are taken care of, the vendors that we utilize are taken care of, but the excess, we want to make sure that we give back, and we give back big. So there are very strategic things that I have challenged and set forth for my employees. I've got 2 of my employees who have already set forth their own foundation. They want to get homeless veterans off of the street side. They deserve to be in a home. They fought for our country. They deserve to be somewhere with some dignity.
Yep.
So they're going to start a tiny home community. That's their first mission. And I'm so excited about that I have inspired my employees to already be in that process of a give back. Now, my give back is obviously going to be a lot different than theirs, but my perspective is, and this is why the location was important, I strategically want 5 to 6 locations of Talus Ridge ranches across the United States, where we can take first responders who have been involved in an event, whether it's a military first responder or a law enforcement, EMS, EMTs, you name it, firefighters, I don't care, dispatchers. If you've been involved in an event, your agency has determined that you need to step away, I want to provide you with a location where you can do that in a safe environment, and we can bring in a psychological a portion of that to make sure you get the counseling and the treatment that you need as quickly as possible, because we know that recovery starts immediately.
Yeah.
You have got to have the help you need from day one, like the minute after the event happens. And so we want to make sure that's available. That's something that is not anywhere that I have found that quickly we can get you out of the environment and into a safe environment where you can start to decompress and start to rebuild, because that's truly what it is rebuilding. So I have a few other initiatives that I want to do. I want to build wells across the world. Not that I want to build them, but I do want to fund them. Water is life. And my parents' church is dedicated into an orphanage in Rwanda, and I want to make sure that orphanage is taken care of. So those are some things that are really important to me that we will be giving back to from the very beginning. So
that's a long list, Sarah.
Oh, and there's one more, and this one is so cool. I'm sorry. I gotta throw this one in. You're gonna love this. Okay, so in Wilmington, there's a group called VMR, the Veterans Memorial Reef. Okay. Have you ever heard of them?
I have not.
Okay, this is super cool. So did you know that most of the cemeteries for veterans are full? Like there's nowhere for them to be buried. And this is a national problem. So what they have done is they've gone with the state of North Carolina, because that's where we're located, or where they're located. And they've got 5 miles of area, and they're building these cement urns so that a spouse and or a veteran and their spouse can be buried together and create a reef in the ocean. And then they'll be there with their brothers and sisters who served with them, serving for eternity. So that's the other one. And that I'm also very, very passionate about, because they're just a give back company, just like we are. So
interesting. Do you sleep?
A little. Well, that's the crazy thing, is I dream. I literally dream this product. And so my team, it like scares them when I send a team message out at 6 a.m. Like, I had a thought, I had a dream. They're like, no, not again. We've got 3 patents already, and we're filing for a 4th one with 4 different designs, not only for law enforcement but for military. So it's a very wide reaching product.
Yeah,
and it's just the first.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I was thinking about this earlier, so I appreciate you kind of circling back to the product, because it's sparked my old mind here. Is given the different equipment, whether you're in law enforcement, a firefighter, maybe even corrections, does that mean a different shirt, different comfort, different wear that
Right.
it needs to be?
Yes, the answer is yes. So we know based on the equipment that is out there, whether you're carrying a 120-pound rucksack or if you've
Hmm.
got a 2A vest, your needs are different.
Yeah.
And so we are actively getting the patent work done so that those are all secured. And even for canines, we've got a version
Oh,
for canines.
cool.
Yeah. So
I like that. I love dogs. People sometimes tick me off, but I love all dogs.
I know. And the crazy thing is, like for the canine specifically, because when they get on a track or they're on a rescue mission,
Yeah.
they get overheated so quickly. And the options that are out there right now are one use option,
Yeah.
and our option is going to be one that will be used for a very long time at a greatly decreased cost to the handler.
Nice.
We're excited about that.
Nice. Well, you've got a very big vision, a lot of things that you want to accomplish, like everything that you're doing so far. What does the immediate future hold for Talus Ridge? If somebody is watching this podcast, 6 months, 9 months after we actually have recorded this, and they look up Talus Ridge, what are they possibly going to see that they might not see today?
So in the next 6 to 9 months, we will be in production. Our shirts will be out in the world.
Mhm.
You may see some white label options where some other companies have picked them up and they now have their name on them. And
Nice.
I'm going to digress for just 1 second
Go
because my
for it.
dad really panicked on that point. He said, "Sarah, aren't you scared about somebody having your product with their name?" And I said, "Daddy, I don't care. As long as the money gets put into the bank account, that's all that matters." So if there is someone out there, an armor company who would like to do that, we're more than happy to have those conversations. We are already having those conversations with 3 armor companies at this point. We're the push will be for the military at that point. I
Yeah.
think the law enforcement piece is going to be really solid. We will be into the human performance piece of things, making sure that the military has what they need. Um, and who knows? I mean, it's just exciting that we're just on the brink of this. This has been 2 years in the making. And we have literally not stopped. We've done about 7 to 10 years worth of work in 2 years. So it has been nonstop.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand. It's always anytime you take on any entrepreneurial endeavor, you expect 80 to 120 hours and then multiply it by what seems like 10.
Right, right. Because even when I'm sleeping, I'm still working in
Yeah,
my sleep. And a lot of people don't understand that as an entrepreneur. Like you don't stop. It
yeah,
never ends. You wake up and you're like, okay, I finished this thought in my dream, and now here we are, and we're moving forward.
yeah.
It's a continual process. It never stops.
Yeah, my best solutions never come during the workday. It's always at 3:18 a.m.
That's it. That's the magic hour between 3 and 4 a.m. is when you have that's when your mind is at its best.
Yep, yep. I do not doubt you one bit. So for all those folks out there that are interested in Talus Ridge, either in the product itself or as you kind of alluded to partner with you and to bring this product to more public safety professionals, how best can they find you?
Yep. So they can contact us at talusridge.com. There's a contact us page, which is the best way to get in contact with any of my team that's managed by my wonderful staff, because you don't want me answering those emails at 4 a.m. when you think about it. And they're like, oh no, you don't want me answering it at 4 a.m. So my staff handles that for me so that I can focus on creating products and pitching to investors. That's my job.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, Sarah, I enjoyed every single minute in talking to you. I think Talus Ridge is an awesome story. And I'm so glad that I could be a small part in bringing it out there through Public Safety Talk Radio. Thank you so much for taking some time from not only your busy day, but from your dreaming too.
Oh, Ken, this has been amazing. Anytime, feel free to give me a call anytime. I'll be happy to follow up with you.
My pleasure. You are awesome. And all of you are awesome in the audience that have either watched or listened to this episode of Public Safety Talk Radio. And we'll be back with you next week with another great guest. Public Safety Talk Radio is produced by the POCUA. POCUA is a consortium of financial institutions serving law enforcement as well as other first responders and public safety professionals. To learn more about our association and to find one of our credit unions or service providers near you, go to www.policecreditunions.com. And always remember, if you aren't working with one of our POCUA credit unions, you're just banking with an institution that just so happens to serve first responders. As a public safety professional, you and your family deserve better. Find a POCUA credit union today.